Talking with the experts.
In episode 360, Lisa Apolinski discusses with us how we can grow our market share in trying times.
Especially good ones. So in Christmas of 2018, a very, very good friend of mine, one of my closest friends, Diana, she gave me a book, How to Grow Your Consulting Practice. Great title, very clear. I got it, I read it, had amazing tools and tips in there, and it was written by two individuals, Mark LeBlanc and Henry DeVries. And Henry DeVries is located in Oceanside, and he had his phone number and his email at the end of the book saying, if you're ever in Oceanside, and I was going to be in Oceanside that summer, 2019. And so I thought, I really like this book. He probably has done really well helping people grow their consulting agencies. I should see if I can meet him. So I emailed him and I called him, and I had to do it several times because he was busy, and I finally got a hold of him and I said, hey, I would love to take you out and buy you a cup of coffee and pick your brain.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And I want to know, do you want to learn how to grow your market share in a zombie apocalypse? Well, my next guest, Lisa Apolinski, is going to explain to us that when we have seen the unimaginable happen with a global recession, global pandemic, and global supply chain issues, businesses will continue to have an onslaught of economic, political, and environmental changes. The key for businesses is to know how to not only survive, but thrive in these shifting environments. Now, a little bit about Lisa. Lisa is the CEO of Three Dog Write. Write is in WRITE, a full-service digital consulting agency. She works with businesses who want to accelerate revenue and take market share using digital means. In the last 9 years, she has helped her clients create nearly $1 billion in new revenue growth. Her book, Weathering the Digital Storm, is used by businesses globally to fortify their digital growth strategies in unpredictable times. And she's apparently on her fourth and fifth books at the moment. So I'd be interested to find out a little bit more about those. But we're going to be discussing one of her books today. Welcome, Lisa, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you, Rose. Lovely to be here.
So tell me a little bit how you got into digital marketing and why you started your agency.
So the story of how I got into digital marketing, interestingly, is I kind of fell into it. I was actually on the road to becoming a physician. And I had, kind of a deviant path. And I had gotten it's crazy, right? I had gotten my master's degree in public health with a concentration in biostatistics. And I started working for a large healthcare insurance company. And one of the executives said, you should get your MBA. So I was like, okay. And I went and did that, getting further and further away from becoming a doctor. And I started to work for an organization that asked me to start doing writing and marketing. And I was actually doing statistics and job costing. So I was like, okay, I will try that. And it it was this very long, convoluted path, and started doing more writing and more marketing and, learning and teaching, and every book I could get my hand on, every class I could take, every online course I could take, was just absorbing, and found out that I actually had a knack for it. And instead of becoming a physician, I instead became a digital growth strategy expert.
Wow.
Wildly different paths, wildly.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But you've got to follow your passion though, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure I would have made a great physician, but I am helping organizations really touch, move, and inspire their customers to find success in whatever they're looking for. So I'm happy with that.
And you can use your bedside manner.
Exactly. Exactly. In terms of starting my agency, so I started my agency in 2012. So I've been in business for 10 years. And another interesting story, all about storytelling. The month was January, and the place was Milan, Italy. I had just worked another 14-hour day, exhausted, had a lot of difficulty with upper management and the work I was doing. I came back to my hotel room and I picked up the phone and I called my sister. And my sister let me complain for a few minutes. And at that point, I had been doing a little bit of side work, doing writing for some of my old vendors and old customers. And so my sister, after she let me vent for a few minutes, she asked me how that work was going. And energy completely changed. Conversation completely changed. I was animated. I was happy. I was sharing all the amazing things I was doing with these vendors. And my sister stopped me and she said, I guess I have one question. If that's what brings you joy, and that's where you're finding passion and success and all these wonderful things, why isn't that your full-time job? Why is that your side gig? And I had honestly never thought about it. Never thought about it. Thought this was my path to be in corporate America. And that conversation completely changed the course of my career. And 3 months later, I resigned from my job. And I've never looked back.
Oh, thank goodness for your sister.
Yeah, thank God for my sister. Absolutely.
So I guess, how can we navigate our market share if, everything goes pear-shaped?
Yes. So there's one thing that I keep telling my clients is that we're still in the middle of everything. Everything can change. Nothing is stable. There are habits that we can form that help us to get into action with our marketing. Having our organizations be in action, doing something that is strategic, that is productive, that uses evidence-based decision-making, it's data-driven, and it keeps the customer in mind, will always help you overcome these obstacles. And in my book, Grow Your Market Share in the Zombie Apocalypse, I talk about how what those 4 habits are that for me really become muscle memory for your organization. So that when something hits you sideways, and it can be anything. What if a tornado came through and destroyed one of your warehouses, which happened to a client of mine? What if there was, something happened with the executive team and they quit? Or, you've had, key team members leave, which is happening all over the world. We're having this quiet resignation, right? This great resignation. What can we do as business owners that will keep people focused, will keep our executive team focused, and keep us with our eye on the ball and moving? That's the most important thing.
Okay, so would you like to share with us briefly the 4 things?
Yes. So, and I'm going to look in my book so I say them correctly, because I don't want to, I sometimes use different language when I'm talking about them, and I want to be accurate. So the 4 habits are: 1, you want to assess the situation. That's the key. We want to make sure we understand what's happening within our organization, what's happening with our competitors, what's happening in the world in general. Are there any political things, economic things that we have to really think about? And this is where your data comes in. Data really helps to remove those emotions and really helps us to focus our attention and our actions on areas that will have the most impact. So that's number 1, assess the situation. Number 2 is we want to be bold, but we want to do it in small doses. What I mean by being bold is if there is a type of a client that maybe you haven't exactly gone for, if there is a strategy that you've never tried, this is an opportunity to make a mistake. And we don't want to have a wild swing of things, but if there's something strategic that you want to try, this is the time to do it. Bold and small doses allows us to get confidence. It allows us to have fast fails, which I think are key, especially in marketing. Fast fails are actually really great because it gives you a lot of information. And it helps us to, again, be in action. Everything we talk about is being in action. The third thing I like to call it is you want to be munificent. So that's a little bit different than being generous. Being munificent means that you lead with that service mindset. You ask what you can do first before you ask for something in return. And you ask what you can do, and you're open to whatever the possibility could be. Maybe there's a vendor that could use your support, or maybe a client is having a question and you offer advice without charging, or maybe like me, you give away a copy of your book to anyone who wants one. I give away copies of my book constantly to organizations, to C-suite executives, because I believe the information in there is valuable. And if they can see what I can do with what I give away, imagine when they hire me, what I can do for them. And then the last thing is we want to leverage relationships. We want to look at our community. What community have we built? Are there gaps where we could fill in? And how can our community help us? And how can we help our community and have everyone rise up? And again, action-based, action-based, action-based.
I like those. They're really good key points to be able to follow. And yeah, I think I'll have to get the book now and get some expansion on those tips.
Yeah. Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about your other books. Say Weathering the Digital Storm and Persuade with a Digital Content Strategy.
Persuade with a Digital Content Story. Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. You should see my titles behind me here.
Yeah.
I'll tell another funny story.
Good. I love stories.
Yeah, everyone loves stories, especially good ones. So in Christmas of 2018, a very, very good friend of mine, one of my closest friends, Diana, she gave me a book, How to Grow Your Consulting Practice. Great title, very clear. I got it, I read it, had amazing tools and tips in there, and it was written by 2 individuals, Mark LeBlanc and Henry DeVries. And Henry DeVries is located in Oceanside, and he had his phone number and his email at the end of the book saying, if you're ever in Oceanside, and I was going to be in Oceanside that summer, 2019. And so I thought, I really like this book. He probably has done really well helping people grow their consulting agencies. I should see if I can meet him. So I emailed him and I called him, and I had to do it several times because he was busy, and I finally got a hold of him and I said, hey, I would love to take you out and buy you a cup of coffee and pick your brain, just to see what I can do. I'd like to make it over the 10-year mark. And, I'm always open to a conversation. There's no cost to a conversation. And he said, that sounds great. And we met for what I thought was going to be maybe a half-hour conversation. It ended up being a 3-hour talk. And he runs a publishing company called Indie Books International. And he said, you need to write a book. And I said, who wants to listen to me? I have nothing to say. Maybe in 20 years, I'll have enough expertise and information to write a book. And he said, no. You've got a book in you right now. In fact, you've got several books in you. You need to be writing a book. And I thought about it, and we talked again, and I started my book, and I published my first book in 2019, which is Weathering the Digital Storm. I knew something was coming. I knew that we were going to have some kind of economic something that was going to happen. I wasn't sure what it was. Sometimes you just feel it in the wind. And I knew that my clients, and I had been talking to them for 2 years, that they had to fortify their digital growth strategies. They had to understand their data, understand marketing opportunities, understand how they were communicating their message. And so that was my first book, because I had already been really preaching it for a couple of years. And then I got the book bug, and I moved on to my next book, which I actually co-wrote with Henry DeVries, Persuade with a Digital Content Story. It was named last year, 2021, number 11, one of the top 11 content marketing books in the world to read.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I was like, oh wow, good. Wrote that book, and it is a step-by-step formula of how to write your communication in a persuasive storytelling format, where you're sharing information about your products and services, but you're doing it in a way that is relatable to your clients and prospects, is interesting, and helps them envision you as their mentor, helping them succeed, getting from where they are now to where they want to go. And then obviously my third one, Grow Your Market Share in the Zombie Apocalypse, came out this year. And as I said, I have 2 more that I'm working on. One I can talk about is the greatest personal brand story ever told. It's basically looking at the story of Jesus from a marketing standpoint.
Right.
Everybody knows who Jesus is.
Absolutely.
How is that, 2,000 years and people are still talking about him. So,
absolutely. Yeah, he was great marketing. Absolutely.
Absolute greatest brand story ever told, ever. I've started working on it. It's gonna be amazing. It's it's basically a 2,000-year-old guide to developing your company and your personal brand story, so that people remember you, understand your purpose, and get behind your communication in terms of your products and services.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when's that due out?
I'm hoping it'll be out like in the summer. We'll see how quickly I can write it. It's been a lot of research.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of research. You think, oh, it's the Bible, but there's a lot of information in the New Testament. So a lot of reading and a lot of books that have been written about it. So I'm making sure that I do my homework.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Lisa, if people wanted to reach out to you or to work with your agency, where could they find you?
Oh, sure. So they can go to my website. It's 3Dog Write. So it's the number 3 dog, DOG, Write, WRITE, like with a pen.com, or they can email me at lisa@3dogwrite.com. Fastest way to get a hold of me. And yeah, I mean, even if you're just looking for a little bit of information, want to have a conversation, have a question. I love talking about marketing. I love talking about communication. And I love talking to businesses who are looking really to accelerate their revenue, and really leveraging the power of digital content storytelling, and their data to make that happen.
Yeah, digital content is it's just since the pandemic hit, it's like, it's the thing now. It's I don't know what if you believe in email marketing still, or whether it's still working on socials, or what part of the marketing do you specialize in?
So my agency is a full service consulting agency. So we do the gamut. We help with overall strategy and communication, authority building and brand positioning, content writing, whether it's for email, social media, video scripting, because there actually is a little bit of writing when you're doing a video, online content, white papers, blog posts, graphics, you name it. Any way that you provide your message to the outside world using something digital, whether it's your phone or your laptop, we are able to do.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Lisa, before we go, have you got something that you'd like to share with us? Some words of wisdom, or a little tidbit, or another story?
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So I just recently wrote an article, and I've been talking to my clients about this, and I think this is really, really important now. So back in February, I was in the Antarctic, and just being there and seeing just the beauty of it, and seeing, what Shackleton would have seen when he was on his expedition, and coming in and seeing the bay, the harbor that he went into. And I also got to experience in one of the zodiacs when we were coming back, pack ice. Pack ice forms on the surface as the temperature changes. And it really is almost like a living creature. It expands and contracts, it forms and deforms. And, right now, Antarctica is actually doubling in size because of the pack ice. And it may look innocent and simple and beautiful, but pack ice is deadly. And one of the things that we had to watch for, especially when we were going in and out with the zodiacs, is to make sure we had a path back to the ship, because the pack ice could actually block you. We're in a time right now where we've been in the safe harbor. We've tried to ride out the storm of the pandemic. We've tried to ride out the storm of the economic upheaval, the supply chain issue, all of it. The pack ice is coming. We may not notice it, and it's quiet and it suddenly forms, but it does form. If we don't start looking around and going, hold on a second, there's another, threat that's happening, we could get trapped and crushed in our safe harbor. A safe harbor could actually become a trap for ourselves and our organization. What I'm telling people and clients is, now is the time, even though you're not quite sure what's out there, to move back out into open waters. Now is the time to get out there and start doing your marketing and your sales and some of your strategic planning. Staying in the safe harbor is not safe anymore. It's time to get back out there.
Yeah, I had a guest last night who said pretty much the same thing, even though we were talking about two different topics. But yeah, he was saying that exactly, or pretty much that very thing, that it's time for people to move forward, and don't procrastinate it, stay the same, move forward and change, and make those changes now before it's too late.
Exactly. I had a boss that once told me, you never shrink to success. I thought that was pretty smart.
Yes.
You never shrink to success, ever.
You've got to expand, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely have to.
Absolutely.
At least, again, staying in action, keep moving.
That's it.
If we're paralyzed by our own fear of what might happen, then we're doomed.
Yeah, I
we
think
have to
the last couple of years
keep going.
the last couple of years, I think, has taught us that we can't just stay the same. We need to change. We need to morph into other things and do other things to you know, be and do better.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today on about our third go about getting this interview going.
Well, I was so looking forward to this. I'm like, yeah, I get to talk to Rose today. Hooray. I was very excited. So thank you. Thank you for having me on.
I'm glad. All right. Well, you have a lovely evening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.